South Africa's so-called unity government claims to be the firewall against chaos. But what if I told you that firewall has already sprung a massive leak? Expropriation without compensation, or as Martin van Staden more accurately calls it, confiscation, is already happening in our backyard. And the very people who promise to protect your property rights are either asleep at the wheel or worse, actively misleading you. Let's get into it. Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Newsflash. I'm your host Joe Emilio. Thanks for tuning in. Let's start with a story from Driefontein in Ekurhuleni. That's where the government has decided in practice that your property rights don't mean much. Land has allegedly been taken at nil compensation. Translation, the state showed up with the legal equivalent of monopoly money and said, this land is ours now. Except instead of buying Mayfair, they are just taking it and telling you to deal with it.
Saw that coming.
And here's the kicker. This isn't some hypothetical doomsday scenario about what might happen if the ANC gets its way with constitutional amendments. According to Martin van Staden's piece in the Daily Friend, this is already happening. That's not a warning bell. That's the House fire, and the GNU is busy arguing over who gets to hold the extinguisher. Now, in theory, the Democratic Alliance is supposed to be the firewall against this nonsense. They joined the GNU claiming they'd protect property rights, uphold the Constitution, and keep the ANC's worst impulses in check.
Liar.
That was the sales pitch anyway. But in practice, we've got DA ministers like Dean McPherson and John Steenhuisen trying to convince investors that South Africa is totally safe for business. Don't worry guys, no one is losing their land, property rights are secure.
Stop the cap.
Meanwhile, back at home, people are literally losing their land. That's like inviting tourists to a safari lodge, promising them no lions here, while Simba is already chewing on the hotel minibar. Martin makes a brutal point. This isn't just negligence, it's deception. If DA leaders know that no compensation expropriations are happening and still go on stage telling investors everything is fine, that's not politics, that's gaslighting. It's like your house being robbed while the security company emails you saying, relax, your alarm system is working perfectly. No, it isn't. The burglars are literally in the living room. This is the problem with the GNU. Everyone is so desperate to look like the adult in the room, the sensible coalition, that they've become complicit in pretending the fire doesn't exist. Here's the thing. Section 25 of the Constitution, the property clause, says you can't just expropriate land without paying compensation. It doesn't say unless you feel like skipping the bill. It says an amount must be paid. Nil is not an amount. That's zero. That's literally nothing. You can't walk into a Pick and Pay, fill up the trolley, and then say, here's my payment. Nothing. Check the Constitution. But that's exactly the logic being used in Driefontein. The state is arguing that in some circumstances, compensation equals zero. And unless someone challenges that head on, it sets a dangerous precedent. And here's where Martin van Staden really goes for the jugular. He lists what Dean McPherson as Minister of Public Works could do right now. Intervene in the court case and argue that nil compensation is unconstitutional, use his department to oppose the municipality's expropriation, suspend national transfers to Ekurhuleni until they stop playing Soviet Monopoly, declare an intergovernmental dispute to escalate the matter. In other words, he could actually fight back. But will he? Or is the GNU firewall just a painted backdrop, looks sturdy from a distance, but collapses the second you touch it?
You know what? I don't know.
Martin calls this the Doomsday Coalition, the very thing DA promised to prevent or avoid. And honestly, he's not wrong. Because if this is how things play out, where the ANC pushes confiscation, the DA shrugs, and investors are spoon-fed fairy tales, then we're heading straight for economic collapse. Expropriation without compensation is basically the ANC's dream communism. It's Venezuela cosplay. And the scary part, it's no longer cosplay. The costumes are off, the stage is real, deal, and they're performing this tragedy live. South Africa doesn't have the luxury to play around with ideological land grabs. We're already facing unemployment, crumbling infrastructure, load shedding, and water shortages. Taking property without paying for it is like taking a sledgehammer to the last intact support beam in a collapsing building. Property rights are the foundation of any free society. Without them, there is no freedom, there is no economy, and there is no stability. The second you allow the state to decide we can take what we want and call it justice, you've handed over your future. And this isn't just about farmers or landowners. If they can take land at no compensation, they can take anything. Your business, your house, even your pension. Once the principle is broken, the entire system is fair game. That's why Martin's piece matters. He's exposing the hypocrisy of leaders who tell you they're the shield while leaving the back door wide open. And if the DA doesn't wake up and actually fight, then they are complicit. You can't call yourself a firewall if you're full of holes. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to help me uncover the truth behind land grabs in South Africa, don't forget to head on over to the BackaBuddy campaign and give a little bit of a donation. If you want to donate via EFT, those details are in the description and pinned comment, as well as the link to the BackaBuddy campaign. If you want more information, you can find out more information on stolenground.co.za. Don't forget to comment below and let me know what you think. Do you think the DA and ANC have become the new Doomsday Coalition? And no matter what platform you're watching this episode on, please drop a like, a follow, or subscribe. I've got more content coming your way. And with all that being said, thanks for watching. Your Newsflash is in.